Good evening. We'll call this meeting to order. If you wouldn't mind, please place all electronic devices on mute. And we will begin by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, did you want to make roll?
Mr. Emmons? Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mr. Belovich?
Here.
Mr. Hazen?
Here.
Mrs. Volker?
Here.
Mr. Compton?
Here.
Mr. Benicki? Mr. Hicksonbaugh? Mr. Mamalenti?
Here.
Mrs. DeMate?
Here.
If you could let the record note that Mr. Hicksonbaugh had a last-minute conflict and is unable to attend. Therefore, I'll be chairing this meeting. Thank you very much for coming this evening. This is an informational meeting by the council regarding some of the ARPA funds that were distributed. Take this time to recognize the committee, Kate Volker, Mike Compton, myself, and Greg Hicksonbaugh. That's just the committee, but keep in mind that the entire council was a part of the discussion, the decisions, the interviews, presentations, etc. So this was kind of written down that we requested an update once the funds were given, just kind of give the council and the committee an idea of what the funds which funds have been spent and on what. Just kind of give us an informal update just to let us know that all things are on track. And go from there. We'll open it up to some questions during the presentation. Again, informal. There's no true format. Just come up and speak how you would like. So with that being said, prior to the first presenter, are there any comments or questions for the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll start our first one, Mishawaka Building Trades.
Good evening. My name is Ben Maudlin. I'm with Mishawaka High School in the Mishawaka Building Trades. I'm the treasurer on the board of directors for Mishawaka Building Trades. In front of you, you have my presentation. I just wanted to walk you kind of through it a little bit. When we purchased the house, it was in very poor shape. And as we went through and renovated, we took 9 dumpster loads of debris and trash out of the house and made improvements as we took it out. The lath and plaster has been removed on the inside, the electrical wiring, the plumbing, it's been gutted. Mr. Murphy is our building trades instructor starting this year in August. And so he has developed he's taken kind of what we had as a rough plan and he has made it a concrete plan, pun intended. So if we go through this today, where the sun is shining and it is beautiful, that was me driving by at 9:30 this morning with my kids, and I took pictures of it. This is where we are at right now, this very minute. We've got, our addition is on the garages there. We have a 8-foot garage door, two-bay garage door, concrete's all in. Now we're just removing the siding up, and we're gonna be replacing the siding on the exterior as we go. And then we also had Marsh came out, did a site plan, helped us do that. And Mr. Murphy, along with our students, drew floor plans.
Nice.
Am I going too fast? I apologize.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Mr. Murphy, along with our students, drew floor plans, and we have those floor plans are in front of you. We had some debate on the kitchen layout and where the stairs were going to go because previously the exterior basement stairs, the basement stairs went through the exterior of the house. They weren't inside the home. So you had to go outside to get into your basement. So now we have a plan to cut out the floor joists and put stairs into the basement, and from there build out our HVAC system. Students have had a lot of fun. I mean, who wouldn't? So Right now, we also have, we're building out the rooms on the upstairs and into the basement. Next page. Students are doing the garage, they're doing, or the roof, they're re-roofing it. We're going to hire out roofing of the second floor and the removal of the chimneys going down, just for liability issues and safety concerns. With that, we had Keller Engineering came out and did a walkthrough with the students and an assessment and a structural analysis of the home, and gave us some history of the home, when it was added on, and all of the other updates and structural concerns and things that we need to figure out and work with our lumber manufacturer with. We also had a wonderful meeting with the Mishawaka Historic Preservation Commission, and I took this picture. Everybody's sitting on the sidewalk, and I absolutely loved it because we were all sitting down looking at the color swaths and the samples outside on the sunny day, taking pictures, and it was enjoyable. It was like we were kids again sometimes when we were picking these out. And then we settled on the color scheme for the home in partnership with the Historic Preservation Commission. And other questions so far? Okay.
Any questions?
If we go further past the site plan, the floor plan is I did make it larger for us. If you're like me, I have glasses, and I found it easier to see. So far, with everything that we've purchased and bought, we are at $66,000 on the home. And we're projecting to, well, the HVAC system will probably be another 16, the kitchen will probably be another 30, and the bathrooms and so on and so forth with that. But we're not there yet. I expect us to have a lot of that in and around May, and then hopefully working with earned monies and funding through the state of Indiana to hire students to be interns over the summer so they can have an internship or an externship program with us.
Cool. Awesome. Any
Yes,
questions?
Mr. Bell.
Ben, what's your projected end date?
Our projected end date, was supposed to be June of this year, and we'd really like an extension on that. We had an instructor resign, and we had to backfill in with all of the other projects that we had, and so probably another year, June of '25, with this house.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes,
Oh,
Ms.
yes.
Volk?
Oh, just a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
It was really fun for the Historic Preservation Commission to be involved in choosing those colors. It was a fun afternoon. And we're looking forward to being involved in the rest of it. And Mrs. DeMaid and I have just agreed that we both would like to live in this house.
I want
It's
the kitchen.
Awesome. Yeah, it's just awesome to see the floor plans. Dennis, we have to credit you with pulling that together.
Yes.
Because that really makes it, I mean, I think you've, brought the professional expertise that you have, in your side gig, but have brought it to this, so it's really, really neat to see, and I'm excited and really proud of you guys for your hard work with it. It's going to be wonderful. What do you think it'll go in the market for?
Conservatively, anywhere between 325 and 420. I
Wow.
mean, we don't know what the market's going to do in the next couple of years. I'd really like it to be on there for 420, 425, but we don't know where the market's going to go.
That'd be awesome.
It'd either go up or it could go down, hopefully up.
Right. That'd be so awesome for the neighborhood. And then the plan would be
The plan is to
to parlay that into,
reinvest and continue on with
Into the neighborhoods.
rehabilitation of homes in the city of Mishawaka. Yes,
yeah.
That
Okay.
is correct.
So one thing you mentioned is that you did not bring your financials with you. Could you provide that to us?
Absolutely. I have them here. I just didn't print them in the spreadsheet or in the PowerPoint presentation. So I do have them, and I can email the council. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Emmons?
Yeah. Mr. Modlin, it's a little off the subject here, But once you finish these two projects, do you have two others that you're planning on going into, a new building, or new house, or remodel again, or whatever?
So we're renovating this house, and we're also doing a new construction on the corner of Main and Jefferson this year.
Yeah.
So kind of the ideal and the brilliance behind this plan was that if it's raining outside, the kids don't have to, they have things that they can do somewhere else at a different location. Or if the plan for the day was to roof, but the frost is still on the roof, well, we can't have kids up there for safety concerns and safety issues. So the plan is to have them at the other location. Did that answer your question, Mr.?
No, I'm talking about once you finish this year's projects, what do you have down the road? Do you still have another one that is going to be remodeling?
Oh, okay.
Or is it going to be two new homes, one? I'm just curious.
I apologize. I
That's
didn't-
okay.
Yes, the answer, we don't have a location in mind, because that's a year and a half out yet. And as they come available, then we will purchase them and renovate them from there.
But are you looking to do remodel and build a home at the same time? Is that your plan?
Yes, that is our plan. That
Going
is our
forward,
plan.
going
That is
forward.
our goal, as long as we can forecast out a couple of years and not have a flip and a new construction at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Compton?
Thank you, Ben. Great work. This is just what we envisioned it to be, one house at a time. I ask that if you haven't been doing this, that I ask you that you become friendly with Ken Prince and Redevelopment Commission, and he would likely be a good resource on future opportunities. I mean, he was the resource on this, right?
Yes.
So he would be the resource, the best resource in our city organization for projects like this and things that he thinks that would work for you and work for us and work for him and, So
Yeah.
appreciate if you'd do that.
We have some ideas in mind with Mr. Prince. and ourselves.
Perfect.
So-
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Compton. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Belovich?
Yeah, Ben, just a couple of quick questions.
Yes.
How many students, like in a given semester, will actually be working on the project?
Okay, so in a given semester, the students that will be working on the project, we have 24 students in the program for the juniors and seniors. So it'd be 24 students per year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 24 students per year.
Okay, and then are they touching all the trades, plumbing, electrical, and, drywall and framing, and they're doing it all?
Yes, along with licensed contractors. There's things that we can do and there's things that we cannot do. And the things that we can do, we don't necessarily pull in a licensed contractor for that, but to do a line set for HVAC and things like that, you would have to have a licensed contractor. So students will do that side by side with them so that they learn that trade. And the electricians and the plumbers and the pipe fitters and things like that, yes.
Yeah. okay.
Thank you.
We have a good relationship with the trades union. Joe Gamble is on our board of directors, and so he is the director for the plumbers and pipe, with electrical trade union training center. Yes.
Thank you. Ms. DeMay? You're welcome.
When students are done with a project like this, do they earn certifications for any type of what they've done? I mean, they put a lot of hard energy into this, and they've learned a lot. So are they certified with any kind of trade?
So there's a lot of trade recognized certifications. So there's the NCCER, this NCCR. There's the OSHA 10, OSHA 30. And a lot of, so we're not training them to be electricians, we're not training them to be HVAC.
Right.
But the ones that we can train them for, OSHA 10, and we're working on getting OSHA 30, the students ready to take their OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 certifications. And those are lifetime certifications that will follow them wherever they go.
So when they graduate from high school, they're ready to go
They are ready to
into
go.
the,
We have a student who is in their junior year, signed up for the Carpenters Union. As soon as this student graduates, he'll have an associate's degree from the high school, and he'll be a second-year apprentice in the trades union.
fabulous, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? I'd just like to make a couple comments and kind of echo the comments of my colleagues. Just want to say special thanks to you and Dennis and Dr. Stevens for tackling this project shortly after the sale, and I think even prior to the award, the monetary award. I went on site and visited, and I was like, this is going to take some time and some hard work, and I don't know if Mr. Emmerich knew what he was getting into, but to you guys' credit, I mean, it was a major task, and I have no doubt in my mind that you guys can tackle it and tackle it successfully along the side of teaching our excellent students great qualifications and trades. So kudos to everybody involved. And I apologize if I missed it. So you were awarded $270,000 of all in. I know it's very difficult to project with rising cost of all the above, but what do you think all in your ending cost would be for this project?
Probably about right there.
Right there.
We had to buy some tools. Some tools came up missing. We've had our house broken into a number of times with some theft as well. So we're going to probably replace, well, we have to replace those tools and things like that. So that will bring that number down. I believe that we'll be right there with the bathrooms, the drywall, the finishing, the electric. I mean, we'll be right on with that number.
And just out of curiosity, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really pertain to this, but I was curious as to think of what the students think in terms of new construction versus reno. I mean, major difference, do they enjoy one or the other, prefer one or the other, or do they just enjoy having both?
Well, I will defer that to Mr. Murphy, but I will tell you this, I know the students really love doing the demolition work.
Yeah, I'm sure.
At the house. So it's a different experience. I believe I've used this analogy before. Replacing an existing toilet is different than installing a brand-new toilet on a new build.
Sure.
You know, it's a different experience. So the students, when they get that, obviously, I think they would prefer the new construction.
Sure.
But Mr. Murphy, would you have anything to add to that?
Essentially, they do love the demo, especially when you can take a sledgehammer and go through something.
Sure.
But I did challenge them to bust up an old cast iron tub, and they just put dents in it. So,
Yeah.
and then had to carry it out. But, some of the things that they're learning back and forth, because brand new construction, it's platform construction, you're building on one layer at a time, where this thing is actually what's called balloon framing, so there's holes that go in the walls from the basement all the way up to the attic. Well, even had our building inspector out and kind of talked to them a little bit about how we actually have to make fire blocking, because you can't have chases like that, and going over code. So they're learning pieces of the building code on this remodel that you would never even talk about much on a new build construction. So, and we just started our framing on the new build as well. So they're learning how to build small walls on one site and force them into the position, and then over here we're actually just building giant walls now and putting them up. So,
Right.
I mean, it's
And that's the amazing thing about this is I think that, new construction, 9 times out of 10, these folks are going to be buying, used homes and have to tackle some of these
Right.
tasks, and now that they'll be able to do it. And as you mentioned, new construction versus reno is quite different. So I think it's just a great win for School City, great win for Civil City. Excited to potentially grow this relationship and see this thing succeed. So I appreciate all the efforts.
thank you.
We appreciate it too. Thank you very much.
Mhm. Thank you. Next up on the agenda to present would be the Mishawaka Penn Harris Madison Library.
Those to pass down. Just your-
I don't have the pretty slides like he does as far as your plans. We're not that far along yet, but we feel really good over the last month, some things that have happened. So this is kind of for us a three-step project. While we know you gave us the money for the bookmobile, what we don't have to accept that bookmobile right now is a place to store it. We don't want to leave it downtown in our parking lot because of potential vandals. So we have been working with the city to obtain a piece of property that is very close to the library, because our staff are going to have, we don't want them to have to drive to a far location in their cars, get the vehicle, bring it back, load it up, so we wanted something close. And so the mayor had suggested a property on 10th Street that it's vacant right now, 2 vacant lots that he can basically plat as one. And it would allow us to, at the library's expense, and we do have the funds to do this, it would allow us to basically fence that property in and up to their fence, so that our employees, for safety, will be able to use a fob like the schools do and actually drive through their gates and to reach our garage. So that has taken a while to get that on the ground on where it would be. So what we have done is our board has, the city asked for an official expression of interest in obtaining that property from our board. That was given. And then we received an initial MOU from the city. Our attorney, as well as we, met with them on site with Ken Prince to actually discuss where the garage would go and how it would happen. Our attorney afterwards sat down to talk about what they're proposing, our obligations, their obligations. And so now it is in the hand of our attorneys to tweak and then get back to the city. So that is moving along.
Excuse me, if I could just.
Yes,
brief-
and let me just say, I'm partially deaf in both ears, so if I don't hear you, I may need to step up close.
Not a problem
Thank
at
you.
all.
Okay.
If I could just say, do you happen to have the address of that lot on 10th Street?
I don't have it with me, but I'll tell you, if you turn past the city's facilities on 10th, and it's really right there. It's next to it are some apartment buildings, some brick apartment buildings. And so I can send you a picture of it if you'd like me to. I'm happy
Yeah,
to
if you
email
wouldn't
that to
mind
you.
sending it to the group or.
I do not
the clerk.
mind sending that to you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. If you could send that to Madam Clerk, that'd be great, and she can distribute it
To whom?
to Debbie Ladega Block.
Debbie? Okay.
City Clerk, please.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. I like the questions then I don't forget. Okay, so right now we're reviewing it. The board has they're ready to sign. They want to get this going. And we're hoping for board approval in November. Provided everything goes fine, we will do that. Following that, there will be a need for a rezoning, which the city feels that will be no problem. So that's any questions right now on the property part of it? Okay.
If I could just make some suggestion, maybe
Please.
wait for the zoning before you purchase.
I'm sorry,
I was just going to suggest, they anticipate no issues, but you never know what comes up. So we always, as a group, feel bad when people purchase a property and then they're asking for a different zoning. So maybe,
do the zoning first.
I would,
Okay.
yes.
And I think they're going to sell it to us for like $1.
Okay.
It's very generous, so, okay.
Well, in that case, just keep the receipt and then you can.
Okay. Just a second. Okay. Thank you. Okay. And then there's the garage. So this was harder than we thought it was going to be. We started this months ago, reaching out to companies to say who does this around here, trying to do local. The only one that really came back with, that came back with something for us, we put out there, this is going to, because of the cost, it's going to have to go out for public bid. So anybody submitting anything to us now is just an unofficial quote. It's kind of on their dime a little bit. So we really only had one company respond. And we were very frank with them that they said, you can use our drawings. We're going to be the lowest bidder. If you want to use that to put out to the, we don't care. So we were up front and they were fine with it. And so they're working on something for us to give us an idea. My understanding is to expect somewhere between $350,000 to $400,000. We're doing 3 bays instead of just one, planning for future growth. And honestly, we've got a van right now that is rarely used. It's not a bookmobile or anything, but because we have to store it at our Bittersweet location. And so again, there's that getting my car, driving over to get in another car. So we're planning to move that as well. So that's what we're waiting for, and I'm told that we will have that before our November board meeting to at least give the board an idea of what it will cost. When we get that type of thing, we're happy to share that with you all. We have no drawings right now to share. And then the library board will approve the drawings, and then we will have to go through the bidding process for that garage. The moment that we know we're going to do that garage, then we're going to reach back out to the bookmobile vendors. We've talked to 3 of them. 2 of them sent us designs, and they're lovely. But it is basically about 400 days out lead time to get the vehicle, which is why we're assuming starting the garage, ordering the van, hopefully it will kind of come together at the same time for us. So that's basically what I have. The cost. When we reached out to these companies, it came in somewhere between $175,000 and $200,000 for the vehicle. So, and we do have that in our savings, so we will be ready to purchase that. Last week, we met with our ad tech guy who does our E-rate savings for us, and so he said this van is very eligible for getting the Wi-Fi, which will be helpful for us because, you know, we plan to do those underserved neighborhoods and the nursing homes for making those library cards or doing programming, or kind of like what the schools did with COVID, where you're just providing some times for people to have internet access that don't have it at home.
Great.
So that's basically what I have. Or
Okay,
any
awesome.
questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Emmons.
Thank you, Mr. President. So it's on your property on 12th Street, or 10th Street, is to build a garage basically for the bookmobile? Is that it?
It would be a bookmobile and 2 other bays that will store a library truck and van. And then if we purchase another bookmobile, if this is successful, we will put that there as well.
Okay, so basically your property on 10th Street is just going to be a big garage, is that correct?
Correct. The plan is with the city, we told them, and they will have to approve our plans, is hopefully to make it look similar because it's butting right up to the city's facility to make our building look like their buildings a little bit, if we can.
Okay, so are you on East 10th?
It is on 10th, and I don't have the address. I'm going to send it to you all, but you're going right down Church Street, and you make a right where they're right past their facilities on 10th Street, and it's right there on the right next to the apartment buildings. There's 2 vacant lots.
Okay, when you say apartment buildings, are you talking about the Dodge project? Is that what you're talking about?
For the apartment buildings?
No, yeah,
Yes.
okay, so those are the buildings you're talking about.
Are the apartment buildings. I
Yeah.
think they might be low-income apartment buildings, but I'm not sure, and I hope I'm not making a
I think
tacky
Mr. Hazen
assumption
has
there.
an idea of,
I looked it up. It sits right next to the south entrance to the motor pool.
Oh,
There's
okay.
one just to the east, 2 lots. It runs right along with the entrance.
Okay, okay,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
any other questions?
Yes.
Very exciting, and it is interesting what a process it is when you think you're just going to get a bookmobile, and then you have to do all of these other steps But I was just curious about staffing with the bookmobile. Will your current staff be able to manage it, or will you have to hire additional staff?
We're doing outreach programming with the staff that we have. We have a programming team that we could possibly increase it by one person for this, but our plan right now is not to. What it will do is we will shift how we're doing that. Like, we're already going to the nursing homes. But what we do is they're loading up their cars, and they're taking a certain small selection of books, and this is going to allow us to take a big selection and make the, so we're shifting how we're doing it, but we're already doing a lot of that outreach. It's just, it's hard, and it's not as sufficient in how we're doing it. What we can offer, this will let us offer a lot more for our patrons. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I do. Just one quick one. Of the $50,000, in case anybody had missed it, including myself, have you spent any of that, or are you just waiting for the plans kind of to
We are
come together?
waiting for the purchase of the van, and that will be part of our initial down payment, which will probably be 50%
Okay.
when we do the order.
All right. Well, again, I thank you for the service that you're providing to our youth and other citizens in the nursing homes, and I think it's a great service, which is why we awarded you some funds, but I appreciate your efforts and
We
everything that you
appreciate the
guys do.
money.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I should clap after each one of these.
Next up will be Mishawaka Trooptown.
Good evening.
If you could just start by stating your name and your
Jim
name for the
Method.
record. Thank you.
President and founder of Mishawaka Trooptown. Each of you have a pretty simple handout that includes our to-date financials, the to-date picture of the property, which is something we're very happy about. John Betcher's group did get a little bit of a late start. We entered the contract with him in June, but other pending projects, he didn't start until nearly middle of September. But to date, we have utilized all but $21,000 of the city's $325,000. I will say that I've also included the John Betcher's $174,000 bid. We've only given him $98,000 of that to date, so that 174 is a little skewed. Maybe he'll come back and say that the 174 is mysteriously lower, we hope. Also in that includes the $105,000, if you recall, when we had considered moving across the street from the VFW, the property purchase would be $75,000 versus the current property was $180,000. So that was agreed upon that we would receive the compensation of the difference.
Sure.
Trooptown Trooptown financials. We haven't been sitting back and just waiting. Year to date, we've raised nearly $45,000. Contributions, donations, the Patel Park bricks have really helped us out a lot. We've done right at about $3,500 in that project, which was very welcomed. We had operating expenses of just shy of $10,000. A big chunk of that was property taxes, but just normal miscellaneous expenditures. We did not include in that number, we'll have annual donations. For example, we just received a $10,000 check tonight from Mr. Champagne. We have an additional $13,500 in annual pledges that we will receive within probably the next 2 weeks. So when we have the ending balance of 171 shown, that is more like 195 in the Troop Town Fund. Upcoming expenses that we have, I've also included the Lady bid, which are the last 2 pages of your handout. We plan to move forward with this year and pouring the foundations next month. We're going to pour all 4 of the duplex foundations, and those come at a cost of just shy of $11,000 each. They will, even the 2 that will be there unused will be fine. They've told us that they'll be fine until we're prepared to build. And on the upcoming future liabilities, I've included $264,000 in April because our intention is to build 2 of the duplexes. We won't have the funding for the entire project, but we feel that it's very important that we move forward with at least 2, whatever funds allow, show the community that we're spending their contributions wisely. I've shared with you the approved site plan, as well as the finished rendering of the duplex, as well as the interior of each of the duplexes, broken down to the 2 400 square foot efficiency apartments. We're excited that we have partnered with Christine Deutscher from Neighborhood Development Associates. She will be doing our grant writing. She has a good history of grant writing, very successful. So we're excited about that. Future grants that we see, First Source Foundation, National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, and the VA Homeless Grant. Those 2 we can't file for until we have a structure in place. So those are the 2 stipulations on those. And then the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis, she has successfully written 5 of those grants for $500,000 each. So that grant is filed in June, and the funds, if awarded, will be received in November. Something that I didn't include is just the absolute overwhelming community partnerships from anything from, I mean, I have visited frequently the building with the planning and engineering departments here, myself and Andy Place, which he is not considering himself the general contractor. He is our contract advisor, or our construction advisor. But the planning department here has just been a godsend. It's been a learning experience for me. But not only, I mean, different trades unions, Milestone, concrete workers, electric unions, all of them, once we have a firm date, we anticipate just getting the word out and the messages, because we have unofficial commitments that the trades workers and the unions will be there, all hands on deck, for a weekend build. I've worked with Kingman Trailers, and they're 98% committed to donating a storage trailer there on site to where we can get the items from Big C Lumber. And we're going to handle it just like a Habitat build, to where it's a weekend build where we get the structures up and we can do all the finishing work as time permits. I'm open for questions.
Yes, Ms. Volker.
Hi, thank you. So glad to hear you guys are moving along. I just had a question about property taxes, because you're a not-for-profit. So why would you be paying property taxes?
We hadn't filed our business entity plan yet. So Dennis and I were just talking tonight, Kate, that now that we have that in place, I'm going to go back to the county building and resubmit that or provide that to them. But she says, when I first visited, when I had $4,400 property tax bill, I was like, ma'am, it's an open lot. All the demolition and everything has been done. She says it's been reassessed. You can, once we have the business entity with my title on it as president or any governing officials, we can ask for a reassessment upcoming years. But she told me that,
But you have you're 501c3.
yes, ma'am.
So I don't understand why you would be paying property taxes unless you're paying property taxes in arrears
In arrears.
for property taxes that were due when you purchased the property?
Yes.
Stovall is our treasurer.
All right, the property taxes we paid in the spring of this year were part of the purchase agreement, so a lot of it was attributed prior to our ownership.
Okay.
We'll be able to file
Right.
our nonprofit status downtown this year, which will affect this year's taxes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thanks, Dennis.
Well, I think we all know somebody in the assessor's office, so let us know.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Compton?
Thank you, Jim, and this is very helpful, thank you. And I drive by your, I live in the neighborhood, and I drive by there probably once a day at least.
Yes, sir.
And glad to see things moving along, and the other people doing some other work down the end of the block, and it should dovetail in nicely if they can get rid of that old building in the middle, and I assume that's future plans, but
Yes, sir.
that's somebody else. And so, but this is good. I can tell you Andy Place has called me. I don't know if he reported this to you, but this for the benefit of the council. He has called me and asked me about building trades efforts in, volunteerism and such. And what I'm working to do is get a unit sponsored by
Marvelous.
by a particular contractor. Then, we need their licensing and those kinds of things for the city's needs. And then, they might get behind it a little bit more financially. I don't know about all the materials, but some of the materials might be donated. And we'll certainly work on the labor side of it being donated. And right now specifically, I'm working with the mechanical trades,
Nice.
electrical, plumbing, and I will work with the HVAC as well to try to get some volunteers to do that. So
No, that's great.
that is all, I know you said that you're working on that and that's what you believe to happen. So for the rest of the people up
That's
here,
going to be our
I
saving
believe
grace.
I believe that's a real
If we don't have any
possibility.
labor associated with it.
Yep.
And we only have a raw material cost.
Right. I believe that's a real possibility as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Any other questions? Mr. Belovich?
Jim, glad to see you here tonight. Sounds like the buy a brick program has taken off since we reduced the price from $150 to $75.
I tell you, it's consuming, it's well worth it, but it's time consuming because they're rolling in, yes. And I check the mail twice a week because it goes, we still operate a PO box. So I go twice a week and collect the mail. And for the life of me, I didn't know it was just a land slot. And then I found out that the city sent just a little flyer or notification in the utility bill. It's like, what a great idea. What a great idea. So, yeah, it was great lowering it from 150 to 75.
Well, I've passed out quite a few of those forms myself,
Yeah.
and I can tell you on November 10th, there's going to be a bunch of Marines gathering at Notre Dame, and we're going to give one to every Marine that walks in the door. So,
And I believe that between Phil and Sarah from DLZ, I think realistically we can extend it probably all the way until February.
so are we still shooting for dedication on Memorial Day of next
To
year?
my understanding, yes. That's the last word that Phil gave me from Mayor Wood.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you. I think they answered, or asked most of it. I do have one question regarding the foundations. It's just going to be slabs?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, sorry, crawl space. Sorry.
space.
To gain some of the soil that is certainly needed throughout the rest of the lot. Andy has recommended that we run a crawl space.
Now with having, you're going to pour all four at one time, correct?
That was our plan, because out of fear that we don't know if there's going to be a fluctuation in price.
Sure.
And we feel that Leidig is giving us an incredible deal on it as well, and Andy agrees that roughly $11,000 per foundation is an incredible price. So we have the funds. I mean, it's one of those, we question that as well, as in, do we spend the extra $22,000, or those extra $22,000 would be more helpful to go into the duplexes? It's one of those
And I
coin
think you
tosses.
made the right decision. The reason for my questioning was just from a safety and security standpoint. Are you going to have those two fenced off? Or how will you protect those and protect kids walking around and
Good point.
potentially causing injury or harm? So just something to
That is a
think
great
about.
point.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you. I do have one other question. I noticed that there are actually 5 buildings on the site. So one of the buildings is the community center, and you're talking about pouring the foundations for the 4 duplexes, but what's the plan with the community center? Down the road?
About $300,000 more, Kate.
Uh-huh. That's fine. I mean, that's not fine, but,
No.
so that will phase in later.
Yeah. We figured that the caretaker, the living caretaker, could utilize one of the efficiency apartments now, and not, we could utilize the VFW for community gatherings, for any fundraising efforts that we want to do. I've always believed that, and I'm sorry if I'm going off subject, but being involved in a nonprofit, I've just always had a firm belief that when you're managing and watching over community dollars, I want somebody to see action. And the most action we can do is getting 7 veterans. If we leave one of the efficiency apartments open for the caretaker, we have an immediate impact to take 7 veterans and provide them with a roof over their head. Down the road, when we have more interest, or once we build, I believe deep in my heart that we will have more and more contributions come in. The Welcome Center will come eventually. Once everybody sees that this is no longer a dream and it's reality, and we're making a difference in veterans' lives.
And just a follow-up question to that, and I understand what you're saying. The community center, will it be something that would be used not only by the people that live in the community, but other veterans, or would it be primarily for the veterans that live there?
It'll be living quarters for the caretaker, but also it will have a meeting room space for the counseling for the veterans, the one-on-one sessions with labor force, spiritual, for any of the veterans need one-on-one space. We'll have a gym, a workout facility. We'll have a day room in there, because each of the duplexes currently, again, it's a funding issue. We don't plan on putting a television and those types of things in the duplexes. So we'll have a day room. We'll have a laundry room within the Welcome Center as well. So it'll be multi-use.
So just thinking about some of those things you would be able to provide in the VFW.
Certainly.
Where you have right now temporarily. That's not
Absolutely.
ideal, and I
Nope.
understand that.
And that's what was so attractive about the location also, Kate, is because of the not only the camaraderie, but also, I mean, they provide food and they're open 6 days a week, and every odd Sunday. So, I mean, you have a TV, and I'm a member of the VFW. I no longer hold a position there, but nobody would ever say anything about one of the residents just coming and hanging out, watching television.
Well, they're vets too.
Absolutely.
And then I guess people would be able to use Burton's Laundry across the street in the interim?
Yeah.
Already talked to
Okay.
them.
I'm sorry?
I've already talked to them.
Okay.
I want to say it's less than a quarter mile down the street there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, again, I just want to thank you for the presentation, but more importantly, thank you for your mission and your hard work to help those that are in need. So keep up the great work. Can't wait to see progression and hear more further updates. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Have a good evening.
You as well. Next up, the res. I waited. No, just kidding.
You did that on purpose.
This thing on. Anyway, I'm Janet Hoke. I'm Vice President of the Board of Directors at the Res. And I gave you a spreadsheet of our original plan is the first column there where it says the original estimates. And some of those have been completed. If you look across, the new roof on Kiwanis cabin has been completed, and that was $2,400. And since we had money left over from that, we went ahead and had the roof on the Nature Center also completed. And that was, well, let's see. where it's at.
27.
That's down at the bottom. In the second group, it says replace roof on the Nature Center. It's $2,700. Keen Roofing did that, and they were well under anybody else's prices, and they were very accommodating, came out. The director of the Mishawaka Res presently set everything up for mostly all of these improvements at the Res. So we're really fortunate to have that person as part of our team. We did replace the furnace in the outdoor restrooms. I don't believe it had been in working order for several years, and it was a little bit more expensive than what we originally thought it would be. Of course, I haven't done any of this home restoration or anything lately, so I wasn't aware that some of these prices were a lot more expensive than what I originally thought. But anyway, AJ Heating came out and did that. The electrical work out there seemed to be a much larger undertaking than what we originally thought it would be. The lights along the parking lot, I believe there may be about 9 or 10 of those. None of the wires were within any conduit or anything. So when he tried to figure out, where these wires went, it was a big undertaking. They had to dig everything up, and we just thought, oh, well, the receptacles don't work. Well, it was a lot more involved than that. The posts were all rotted, and so anyway, his current estimate is about $6,000 as opposed to $1,500. So he's been working on that. It's a project that's ongoing right now. Hopefully it will be completed before the Thanksgiving tree sale and things of that nature. Some of the things that we had asked money for, like the environmental days for the schools, Kiera, our director, was able to get all volunteers to fund that. We used to pay St. Joe County Parks and another person to come out and do those, but yeah, I think we had the zoo one time out there. But anyhow, she found the presenters, and it didn't cost us anything. We were in the process of doing a tree identification trail out there, but
That company went out of business, so that's just kind of off the table. The Storybook Walk was completed by an Eagle Scout, so that didn't cost us anything either. And we got new windows in the Ranger cabin and four new windows in the Lions cabin, which is the bottom of Jernigan Lodge. And the total cost for that's $8,560. That was for the house and Lions cabin. The house is finished, but the Lions cabin windows are on order, and that should be completed sometime next month. We wanted some materials for an educational project called Project Wet. Those were donated to us, so we didn't have to buy those either. So then we decided, and Tony will get a kick out of this, we want to put restroom or showers in the outdoor restrooms. Do you remember that? Yeah. And anyway, the reason for that mainly is because the director this year wrote a grant for a team from the AmeriCorps, which is the division that came to the res is called the NCCC. Jacob probably knows what that stands for, but there were 7 individuals that came and stayed at the res for 8 weeks, and they did an enormous amount of work out there. But they had to use the house, the ranger's house, for all their showering and things like that. I mean, they had the restroom part, but not a shower. So we decided that we would like to put in 2 shower stalls back there. Merrill Plumbing came out and gave us a bid. We never got around to getting that done, though, this year, but we would like to get it done next spring before another group might be staying there. Like I said, we did replace the roof on the Nature Center, and that's completed. Fire Marshal is coming out actually this week, and we don't have hardwired exit signs. And I'm sure that's one thing that's going to be recommended. I mean, as far as smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, things like that, we have that. But there is some other things that they're just going to suggest that we get done. The Mishawaka High School Building Trades built us a new storage shed, and the materials for that was $2,656, and we would like to use the ARPA money to cover the cost of those materials. So the original, if you look at the current estimates, comes to $12,400, and then the actual cost for everything that's been finished and was $20,416.52, and it equals $32,816, which leaves us with a little over $2,000 for the bridge project. Now, I am going to turn it over to Jacob because he's got some interesting things to tell you about the bridge. We've got other ideas for raising some money for that. So,
If you wouldn't mind,
Yes.
before you turn it over to
Yeah,
Jacob,
sure.
does anybody have any questions? Yes, Mr. Compton.
More of a comment. I know we heard, so I assume that after we presented the grant, the ARPA grant, that some things changed for you. You had some volunteers and whatnot. Got no issue how you spent the money. And the, you know, as far as construction costs, I'm building a house. I know what it's like. So, yeah, they're scary sometimes. They don't even make sense sometimes. So I understand that. I appreciate what you're doing. Looks like you're doing some other fundraising and have had a lot of volunteers. So good for you and good luck.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob, any other questions?
No, thank you.
No? Okay.
Hello, everybody. Jake Crawford, President of the Board of Directors at the Res. I just want to say on the record, I don't think that there's any individual in Mishawaka that has probably done more for the Res than Janet has. I've been able to serve with her for 7, 8 years now on the board, and the amount of stuff that she has done for that property is staggering, and I just want that to be on the record.
Thank you.
I wanted to touch a little bit on 2 things. We've been really cranking out these projects on the property. There's a lot of, structures out there and things that need to be updated, brought up to code, repaired. It's been wonderful to see that, and I know that we would not be able to do that without the funds that were brought here from the ARPA fund. So we greatly appreciate that. But I wanted to touch on 2 things. One, Janet had mentioned the NCCC, the National Civilian Conservation Corps, is what that stands for. We partnered with them. The city of Mishawaka did. We were the co-sponsoring partner for the AmeriCorps team. And that proved to be a very fruitful relationship for both the Res, but also for the city. They worked with me a couple of weeks here doing some extensive invasive species removal on the Riverwalk as well. But this has kind of created a scenario where the Res can act as a hub for hosting AmeriCorps teams. So I just do want to say that really getting those facilities up to date, livable, getting access to showers, all of the stuff that's on here is really paramount to the success of that program and the continued success of it with our partnership with the city as well. But the last thing I wanted to mention is we talked about the rising costs of construction and some of the difficulties there. We're in dire need of a new bridge on the property. Originally, we had talked about doing a tractor bridge. After having Jerry Frost out from Frost Engineering to look at our 2 other existing bridges, he recommended that there be paramount effort put into replacing the main bridge on the property. He estimated it only has roughly about 5 years of life left in it at best. The other bridge is also in pretty rough shape. As many of you know, the Res is small but mighty, but many of the structures and things that we build there are kind of ad hoc with whatever resources we have available at the time. And 2 of the 3 bridges had just been telephone poles laid down with decking boards, and they served an okay function at the time, but we have an opportunity here right now, I think, to build a couple of substantially nice structures down the road. And so the board is interested in pursuing a blueprint that we can use for any bridge out there that we could extend or shorten depending on what section of the creek we'd like it to be on. And so as part of that, whatever funds that we have left over at the end of this grant here, we'd like to add to what we're currently working on as we're partnering with Patronicity. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Patronicity. I think the city's done 7 of them. That's how I did the greenhouse myself. But we're going to be partnering with them to help get a matching grant to build a really nice, substantial, well-engineered, out-of-the-floodplain bridge that will last for a significant amount of time on the property. So we'll be kicking off that fundraiser on November 4th with a trivia night at the Ironworks Event Center, just over that way. But we plan on using a combination of crowdsourced funds, the matching grant, and the leftover ARPA funds to construct the new bridge. So I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Any questions for him? Ms. Volker?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I want to first make a statement that I think that you and Janet, the board, have been really creative in how you've used the ARPA money, and you've really stretched it more than our original, the original concept was. And I just want to congratulate you on that. I do want to talk about the bridge a little bit, and I guess 2 other things. One, I'm not able to attend on November 4th, but if there's some way maybe you could send Clerk Block information about that. Maybe you already have, but it'd be nice if there was a way for me to make a donation, if there's an online form towards that. I can only speak for myself. I would be interested in contributing to that. But can you tell us a little bit about the blueprint issue? Because I think if you and I have discussed, and Mr. Belovich and I have discussed the possibility of perhaps having some volunteer support for building the bridge, but that the blueprint is the boondoggle.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing that up, and I can send some information over. We do have a patronicity page. It's being reviewed, although we're approved. So it's not live yet. It won't go live until the trivia night, but I can send all of that over. The issue with the blueprint stemmed from the original idea was to build this bridge. We were working with Mike to do it with the local Marine Reserve Unit with their Initiative Readiness Training program. And once we got down to the nitty-gritty and filled out the application for that, it became clear that for them to be released for the construction, they need a licensed engineered blueprint. And so that became the most expensive and most difficult item to obtain for the bridge project, over the materials, over everything else, is I've been unsuccessful in getting someone to donate outright a full plan. Jerry Frost is willing to give us a considerable good deal for coming up with a licensed structure. So we still have the opportunity to build with any volunteer groups, especially if you want to work with the Marine unit. That was just kind of the one piece of the puzzle that's been missing, hence the fundraiser to kick off the fundraising for that. But also one of the big issues we have with the bridge is the structure itself is one thing, but a lot of the preparatory work to put the bridge in, to preserve it from high water, to preserve it from erosional forces, is actually also quite a substantial cost, hence the fundraiser.
And how much do you need to raise? Or how much, I mean, yeah.
We're looking to raise $25,000 with a $25,000 match from Patronicity. They'll only match up to whatever we declare. I'm still working with Bridget Anderson to try to figure out what the right strategy for that number is. With the greenhouse, we raised over the original amount requested. We only got a match up to the initial amount. So there's some strategies to kind of figure out there, which I'm working on with her.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Belovich.
Jake, one other thing, we still need to get out and take a look at that steel that we've talked about.
Yeah, so that was another component, is the Dodge building. There's some potential opportunities for salvage materials, which could also substantially lower the investment cost of the bridge, especially if we can get some of like the structural I-beams and stuff to use as a basing material for the bridge. So I think, we're going to work with their councilman here to get in there with Jerry and take a look at those materials as well. But I think this is a neat project, just like a lot of the crowdsourced stuff that the city's done in the past years. It's always neat to see, a lot of people that they can't do all of it, but they all bring something to the table. And it's neat to see a project come from nothing to usually something incredible at the end, just from lots of small contributions. And I think that's a neat thing.
Yes, Ms. Demain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Something near and dear to my heart is the tree identification
Yes.
that you have going. Have you thought of, maybe we can get together on this a little later, have you thought of engaging the St. Joseph County Master Gardeners?
I work with them a lot at Kate's Garden. They're definitely more flower people than tree people. Not opposed to it. My wife was on the board, and she was the one that kind of spearheaded that project. And there's a bunch of tree ID items out there, and they all have the QR code scan. And so the business went out, and so they had pictures and all kinds of information that could take you to it. So that's really what we lost. So just finding, I guess, a new approximation of that is what we're looking for currently.
Okay, so the actual QR coding and all that.
Yeah, there's maybe 15 or 20 trees that are out there identified with hard plaques, but that was nice because you could bring up a lot of information that we just couldn't fit onto a placard.
Right, okay.
But we could certainly talk about it more.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, I like that.
Any other questions? Well, before I let you go, I just want to applaud you and Janet for your hard work, your passion. Very well organized in terms of your expenses and what you've collected. I think it's just a proof of even a little bit can go a long way. And I think you guys have done an excellent job and great stewards of these funds. And I'm just extremely excited that this will be up to date, current, safe for our youth to visit. So thank you all for your efforts and your passion.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the support of the city as well. It's been great for us.
Thank you. Thank you. And the most patient award, without even being announced, Youth Service Bureau.
Good evening, everyone. Christina McGovern, Youth Service Bureau, St. Joe County. I'm happy to be here with OISB Board President Terry Clark as well. So you have a packet of information in front of you. It's really a lot of pictures, which is very exciting. So the first one that you'll see, really these go from June, July, August, September, and the last photos were taken this morning when I went out there. So it is moving along. You can see the project now from McKinley as you drive by. Campaign status to date, including the donation of the property, we've raised over $8 million for the project. The masonry work out there is complete. And as you see from the last pictures, the trusses are going up right now. They were actually out there working when I drove here this evening. So they were making the most out of the daylight that we have left. Capital campaign expenditures or construction expenditures right now up to $1 million, and I fully anticipate that the funding we received from the ARPA funds will be allocated by year end in the next couple months, and I'll have a full financial breakdown of that once that happens. Construction is expected to be completed late June of 2024. So it's coming soon. We cannot wait. Once the trusses are up and secured and safe and majority says we're clear to walk through, I'd be happy to take you on a little hard hat tour. So I'll let you know as soon as we get clearance so we can pick a couple dates and do that hopefully before it starts snowing. So just a brief update. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I don't know, the other, as far as funds raised for the project, YSB was one of 7 agencies in South Bend that received the Big Lily grant recently. So we received an $880,000 grant from Lilly Endowment, and $500,000 of that grant was allocated to the building. So that was great news for us.
Awesome.
Great. Any questions?
Great stuff. Any questions?
Of
Yes.
course. Sorry.
As expected, Ms. Wilson.
So can you remind me of a few things?
Sure.
It's, again, super exciting. I drive by 3 or 4 times a week, so I always have my eye open to see what's going on, and it's really exciting to see things coming to fruition. But can you remind me, what is the total dollar amount that you need to raise? And then just another reminder about the number of individuals that you think you'll be serving in a year there, and how many from Mishawaka again?
Sure. So total, we only need just around 500,000 more. So we're looking at about a grand total of 8.5 million. So prepare your year-end gifts now for anyone. It's always a good push at year-end. So I'm fully confident that we will certainly reach that goal. As far as numbers served, so I think when we first came to speak to the council, we indicated that of the numbers we have currently, about 30% of the youth that we serve come from the city of Mishawaka. That has stayed true. I just looked at some of the numbers this morning, the numbers of youth that are coming into the emergency youth shelter. And just to remind you, so the number of beds we have at the youth shelter now are 8. That number will double to 16 beds in the new facility. I fully anticipate with the visibility of the building and more outreach efforts that we'd like to do within Mishawaka High School, John Young, and some of the other schools to raise awareness that the building is so much closer, that those numbers will increase as well. So we fully anticipate. So right now, just from the shelter perspective, average each year between 158 and 200 youth every year, just in the shelter component. And we have 6 other programs.
Well, thank you. I just want to, again,
Sure.
commend you and your board, and it's so wonderful to hear that you're well on your way to meeting your fundraising goal, which is just huge and a big relief, I'm sure, to all of you. So I just wish you lots of luck and
Thank you.
finishing
We've
that
been
up.
very blessed. The community overall of the county, everyone has just been just tremendous. I remember I was so excited when we first actually had some dirt moving, and I sent all of you an email because it's just been such a long time coming, and our staff especially, who are really, really doing just tremendous work with young people who we see every day. The need is so significant. So we're excited to have a brand new space to share with them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Belovich.
Thank you. You said that 30% of the clients you serve come from the Mishawaka, city of Mishawaka.
Correct.
How many do you actually serve on an annual basis?
So, let me think. Because we have different, so about 1,200 in direct case management. If so, that means working with individuals. But then as far as presentations and in the schools, so if you remember, we have staff within the PHM schools and do presentations in the county to about 10,000 young people every single year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big reach because it's the messaging, and it, just as a reminder, one of the things, especially with teenagers, is you have to constantly be saying, and I'm sure a lot of you have personal experience if you've had teenagers in your home, that you have to keep messaging over and over that we're here, so that they're going to know where to come. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Again, I'll just conclude in my great appreciation for your passion and your efforts and your mission, what you came out to tell us about during your presentation, just to kind of get this update and see this come to fruition, and just makes your heart smile of all the youth that are going to be served and receive great benefit for
Thank
what
you.
you
We're
guys do.
incredibly grateful for your support. I know that all of you really took this very seriously and really looked at where you thought the most impact would be. And I'm truly can't wait to show you what's going to happen once we get this new building done. So thank you.
Great, thank you. And thank you for your patience this evening. Before we conclude, I just wanted to kind of give a brief summary of what we did as a committee and also as a council. These were federal dollars given to us due to the American Rescue Plan. And the part of the initiative of those dollars that were given or allocated, the mayor had allowed the council to kind of come up with our own ideas of about $1.8 million. And initially, when the committee sat down in a roundtable discussion, what we all came up with is how can we make the quickest and most impactful benefit to our community, our youth, and beyond. And I just want to commend the committee and the council. I think we really nailed the recipients. I think we hit it right on the head. All these folks are going to make an immediate impact on our youth and our veterans and even our elderly in certain areas. So again, this was federal dollars that we had extensive interviews and presentations and selected a nonprofit organization that would make an immediate impact. So I just want to applaud my colleagues for their efforts and time that was given in the presentation initially and also here this evening. I think I speak for all of us. I can't wait to continue to see this progress and to see the impact that this is going to have within our community. So thank you all for coming this evening. Thank you all for your attendance, and I'll turn it over if any council members would like to speak.
I just have one more question, Matt.
Sure.
I think the monies had to be committed by the end of 2024 and spent by the end of 2026. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Any other council members wish to speak?
I just want to make a comment. I
Sure.
think the council here in Mishawaka has done a tremendous job, far better than our Congress does in allocating and spending money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hemmons. Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Volk.
I've just wanted to do this all night. Good job.
Absolutely. Well, if there are no other comments or questions, we'll adjourn. Thank you.
You did all right.